Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and welcome to the C-Suite. My name is Chandra Daniels. I'm your host, and today is November 6th, and we are very, very happy to be with you today on this beautiful Saturday afternoon in New York City. We are here today with none other than our managing consultant, David Rowe. Hey, David.
Hey, how's it going?
And we have a very special guest. Not a guest at all. He is one of the partners here at Bars and Hoops Radio. Tiny, DJ Tiny's here with us today. Hi, Tiny.
Hey, Sandra, how you doing?
I'm good. We're back together again.
I know I missed you a lot.
I miss you as well. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too.
It's good to have you and David here. I'm always surrounded by great men, and now I have two great men I'm surrounded by today. A girl should be so lucky.
I'm lucky. Thank you for having me.
And David, you're doing well over there because you're already into tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Another wonderful day.
Another wonderful day. And so we're just happy to be here on the C-Suite and being able to, talk about what we talk about. I am Chandra Daniels. David is David Rowe, and he is the managing consultant partner here at Monarch Pros. And we're just here on a Saturday afternoon to come talk to you about a couple of things business related. But as we always do, we want to talk about today. Today, November 6th, is the 310th day of the year, guys. 55 days left of the year. 55 days. That's it. What are you going to do with your next 55 days?
Oh, well, I'm trying to be successful with those next 55 days.
The next 55 days?
Yeah, it's all about following my vision board, putting everything in perspective like the way I want to, and by 2022, I should be
ready to go.
Successful. Yeah.
You'll be ready to go. Oh, that's good. What about you, David? Got anything planned for the next 55 days left of the year?
Well, the next 55 days, I want to finish strong and complete everything that I started out to complete this year. And I'm on a really good, I'm at the tail end of some things that I had to get done. I'm absolutely excited about the fact that I've accomplished some things because I had a goal. And like you said, it was a vision thing, and I stuck to it. And now I'm here waiting to complete this next 55 days on a level that's going to perpetuate the next level of success for the next year.
Well, I'm excited for both of you guys. I know that your visions are great. I'm only surrounded by visionaries. And so to hear that both of you have your visions in place, you're ahead of schedule because, next year will be here in 55 days and you guys are already ahead of it, completing things for 2021, looking forward for 2022.
Right.
So congrats to you. Myself, I am very excited. I have been quite busy, as you know, David, and catching you up, Tiny, with a couple of things. And I'm very excited to say I've accepted a new position. I'm very excited to be back in academia. And so won't let my employer be known right now until I'm actually footing in the door and have my stuff. But I'm very, very excited. It's been a long time coming. So I'm excited and using these next 55 days just to get myself prepared for what's to come for 2022. But I look forward to being in front of the classroom with students again and working continually here at Bars and Radios on the first and third Saturday at the C-Suite. And more importantly, just being able to enjoy another beautiful day. So beautiful today here in New York City.
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous. Nice. Is it over there where you are in Tomorrowland? Is it nice over there too, David?
It is finally. The weather's gotten to a point where we can say it's cool outside. It's no longer 115 degrees when you wake up at 04 in the morning. So I'm excited because the shift is taking place and it's only getting better the rest of the year. And we'll finish, like I said, on a strong
I don't know what that means. 115 degrees in November?
It's not now. It's
not.
No longer 115 degrees.
Okay. I don't even know what 115 degrees is in any month. That's crazy. That sounds hot.
Too hot.
Absolutely.
Is it humid when it gets hot like that? Is it no humidity, right?
It's just a dry heat.
Oh, that's even worse.
Dry heat, depending on where you are in the country.
That's even worse. Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, on this day, November 6th, Americans elected President Abraham Lincoln back in 1860, right? And then turned around and did it again in 2012 with the second term with Barack Obama. And guess what? Yesterday was American Football Day.
Okay.
Listen, I look for stuff to relate to the show because we're on Bars and Hoops Radio.
Right.
I keep my commitment to making sure I have some bars and some hoops
and some sports.
and some sports, right? And so the stuff that you can find when you're looking to get your show together is amazing. And so let me give you guys a couple of good facts about American Football Day, right? Wait, I had it up. Where'd I put it? Here it is. Okay. Did you know in 1921 the first black head coach was, and the NFL's first African American head coach was Fritz Pollard,
I didn't know that.
right? And then football started on August 20th, 1920. However, today, or the November 6th being Football Day, came from some game that was played back in 1967 between the Giants, and they said it was the best game ever played, the greatest game ever played. Okay, I'm lost too. I'm lost too. But happy American Football Day.
Happy American Football Day.
All right, that takes care of that piece. Now I thought you would know this, David. But you being the sports guy that you are, we're not going to tell them who you really are, right? Former NFL star and all like this stuff. No, we're not going to say all of that, right?
No, not at all.
Put your non-business in the street.
I didn't know either.
No, he's not. He's not. I just mess with him all the time. He should have been, but that's a running joke between he and I. The NFL Philadelphia Eagles beat the Cincinnati Reds 64-0. You know I had to put that out there.
Yeah.
Just to represent Philly.
You're gonna represent every time.
And the Philadelphia Eagles beat somebody 64-0. This was back in 1934. They haven't done it since. They haven't. I don't even think they scored 64 points in a game since. And I think that's it. I think that's all I can find in regards to sports. However, I did find that in 1917, this New York State adopted constitutional amendment giving women the rights to vote. So today, November 6th, is the commencement of the women's rights to vote in America, at least in New York State, which is kind of cool. So a lot of good things happened on November 6th. Congratulations to the New York City mayor-elect, Eric Adams.
There's a lot of crazy things going on with that.
Really? What's going on with it?
You didn't see some of the footage?
No, I did not.
Of a lady. It was like a mob. Not too fond of Eric Adams.
Okay.
Right? And she was really going in at him. And then you had another lady that had a clown face on, and she was talking to him like, aren't you a crooked cop? Weren't you a crooked cop?
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah,
really? This was like the first day of him being elected?
Yeah, out there. He was standing out there. One of the ladies was like, I lost my job because of your mandation, because of the mandated shots. What are you going to do about that? I lost my job. I don't have no job now because of this mandation to take the shot.
Right, and what did he say?
He didn't say anything.
Good.
Right.
Good, because he just got elected.
Right, he just got elected.
He just got elected. So what is he supposed to do? So people are frustrated, David, here in New York City, with the mandates, as you and I have talked before. I was frustrated, was really adamant of not getting my vaccine, but glad I did. And moved forward and got it done.
I had to get mine, and I didn't
fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
I
didn't want to take it.
Right.
I still didn't want to take it. And my whole thing is, I believe people have the right to choose if they want to take it.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't force them to take something that they don't want to take.
Absolutely. However, it's not working that way. So either people get the shot or they're not working. So
they're not working.
We shall see what happens with Eric Adams. But just to give a little feedback, he is a decades-long career in public life. He was formerly, is currently the Brooklyn Borough president.
Right.
He was a former police captain.
Right.
And is now and will be the second black mayor in the city's history. He will be the 110th mayor. They said that Mr. Adams will take office on January 1st, and there's some challenges ahead. He grapples the enduring consequences of the pandemic, which we just talked about, including precarious and unequal economic recovery. That's really in addition to the mandates, how these businesses have gone. Really, David, you should see it. A lot of businesses that were here in New York City, no longer. And then there's still the continuous concerns about crime and the quality of city life. he championed about being, the mayor for the people, and the unions came out and supported him. He basically took over the vote. Like, he won by a major landslide. So, we are looking forward to see what Mr. Adams will bring to the table. It really is working through the political diversity of what's happening in New York State and across a lot of states. The Democrats are still holding on, although it's a more center-left Democratic leadership. So we'll get to see what happens. He promises that he will fight for the working and middle class voters of color, and we'll see what happens. So welcome Mayor-elect Eric Adams to the top position of New York City politics.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens come January the 2nd.
Well, we will.
We will, right? We will see what happens.
See, I have a question.
What question do you have, sir?
All right. When Mayor Dinkins became the mayor of New York City,
Right.
what year was it?
I believe it was in the 80s.
Right. It was
Right.
early, like late 80s.
Right.
You sure it was the 80s? Or was it going into
Keep
the
talking and I'll
90s?
look it up. Go ahead. Keep
Right.
talking. I'll look it
But
up.
anyway, when he was the mayor,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had Ed Koch, also a mayor,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you have Blasio, he was the mayor, and then now you got Eric Adams, the mayor, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question to you, right? What has changed for the better in New York City when each of them guys became the mayor? And what's the difference between then and what's the difference between now?
Okay, so that is such a laid and loaded question. So
I
I'm
know.
gonna wrap it up like this.
Right.
Change happens, progress happens over time. And what I've seen is a cleaner New York City to a degree. We see the gentrification, however, we don't see the flip side of the economics that's going on. Because we forget Bloomberg. We forgot him.
Yeah. Bloomberg,
And what you see is basically what you get.
right.
And what we've always gotten. And so I think that when we have any type of new leadership, it's kind of like with anything new. We want the newness out of it.
Right.
What is he going to bring to the table? Who knows?
And you know the other thing I don't like,
Mhm.
I don't like when you got somebody that's been rich all their lives,
Mhm.
that have money all them lives,
Mhm.
because they don't see the struggle or they don't feel the struggle.
Right.
So all they do is they lead by what they know.
Right.
And I don't like that. So that was Bloomberg, because he was about money,
Right.
and he led the city about money. And being that he led it that way,
Right.
certain things happened that wasn't good. Like as far as like he when it came to renting out apartments and stuff,
Mhm.
he made the apartments smaller to rent by law. Like, yeah, all right, you
Of
know
course
what?
he
Instead
did.
of that,
Of
yeah,
course
so
he
he made
did.
it smaller
Right.
for them to make more money.
But let's
And-
back up.
Right.
He wouldn't have been a 3-time mayor. People would have got out there and did what they were supposed to do. And so, I think a lot we put on leaders, which is great because the conversation today
It's about leaders.
about servant leadership. David, see, this thing is just flowing as it should.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think that let's remember that question.
Yeah.
Hold on
okay.
to that, because I think it's going to lead into how we're going to differentiate what we see and what we talk about,
Right.
and even what we all can take back to our workplaces. But I knew you being here today would be great by accident, right? You're here
Yeah.
by accident. Well, nothing's by accident.
Yeah.
You're here because you were supposed to be.
Never.
Thank you. Right? He's here because he was
All right.
supposed to be. And so
Yeah.
I'm here to
Absolutely.
welcome anyone. You know
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
You were and are our only and original DJ. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
as you see, it's
Yep.
just me and David, and what I do.
Right.
And so we're glad that you're here today, Tiny. And so I figured you're a very great conversationalist. You bring up the great questions,
Right.
and you and David and myself together can kind of answer some of those questions, and maybe have our listeners and our viewers of YouTube be able to kind of join in. And so if you do want to join in the conversation, you can give us a call at 516-206-0711. That's 516-206-0711.
Right.
And so as we move into the next topic, Guess what today is? Now I know you didn't know this. I didn't know it,
Mhm.
but the station needs to know this. November is National Hip Hop History Month.
Oh, I knew that.
What?
Yeah.
No one told me.
Yeah.
No one told Sean Daniel. Did you know,
No.
David? We did not know. I did not know. The hip hop heads know. So now I'm official hip hop head because I know.
That's definitely
Okay.
yeah.
Did
National
you know?
hip-hop,
Well, because you know,
yes.
once I find out stuff, I gotta look it up. I
Right.
gotta look it up. So let's see. There is a resolution. New York State, August 11th is Hip Hop Celebration Day.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Let me get this straight. November is Hip Hop History Month,
Right.
and August is Hip Hop Recognition Month.
Mhm.
But when you look at the resolution, and it was put together by Chuck Schumer, our
Yeah.
senator, right? All that good stuff.
Right, because he was there. He was there at the free concert that they was giving.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All through the boroughs.
All through the boroughs. Okay.
Right.
Well, this is what I like. He has the whole history about whereas August 11th, 1973, at a back-to-school jam organized by his sister Cindy Campbell and held at the recreation room of 1520 Cedric Avenue in the Bronx.
Avenue, of course.
Right.
Home of Kool Herc.
Right. Kool Herc Campbell introduced his innovative style of disc jockeying, and together with the massive ceremonies, engaging the crowd with rap on the microphone while partygoers known as B-boys and B-girls danced, introduced a new style later known as hip-hop. Now, what I like about the resolution, it goes on about how it's all part of the culture, whereas the art and culture of hip-hop is an original American creation.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas hip-hop and other genres of music, jazz, New Orleans, Louisiana blues, Mississippi country, South gospel, rock, soul, all transcended boundaries, right?
Mhm.
And it goes on to say, if you want to find this, we'll have it on our link on YouTube channel, but it is a resolution. It isn't, it's a law, right? It says that hip hop encourages local governments in the United States to build partnerships with entities and other members of the creative arts and musical communities. So hip hop is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
And
right
if you
from the
don't
beginning.
believe me, I watched, and David, I suggest you watch. I watched it this week and my mind was blown. Uncovered, Hip Hop Uncovered with Big Un and Bimmy.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Where was I? I live on another planet. This was such a great show on Hulu.
Mhm.
It showed all the behind the scene players.
Right.
It showed how hip hop just needed these pillars of the community to get it going. It says how, you know, you don't touch a part of what we do without touching some part of different type of businesses and underworlds and all that stuff. It was so amazing.
And the connection of
The
what
connection.
hip
Oh.
hop does today.
Oh
and
my
became.
God. How is this $1 trillion business, David? Hip Hop Uncovered on Hulu. If you get a chance, when you're back in the States, check it out. 6
I will.
episodes. I was totally loving being from Queens.
Mhm.
Totally being from Queens.
Of course, because a lot of Queens, a lot of people from Queens changed the game in hip hop.
Absolutely. But that it is a piece of our history that if our children really, really understood what hip hop was about, we wouldn't be hearing some of the stuff we hear now. We just wouldn't.
Yeah, because
we just wouldn't. We just wouldn't. So
hip hop was designed and created from the struggle of the people.
absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely. I think I'm gonna ask Stills to make you the historian of Bars and Hoops Radio. No, seriously, you need like a proletariat. I think it would be a great proletariat for Bars and Hoops Radio, where you have all of this, because you have a lot of stories.
Yeah,
Union Square, I was there. You have a lot of stories.
Absolutely.
But hip hop is why we're even at the station. Hip hop is, you know, I know for myself, hip hop is a form of language that helped me get through everything.
Everything. See, the thing is I don't tell people like you got the 5 elements of hip hop, right? What you got, the breakdancing, the DJing is the backbone of everything. It was started from the DJing. Then you came to MC. Then you got the graffiti, and then you got the breakdancing.
Right.
And then the other element is the intelligence of it all, because it was spreading the word through music on certain things. It was like a newscaster and where
Right,
they talked about and
right,
everything like that.
right,
But
right. From
when-
from the community's
right,
perspective.
because when it started, it was really about braggadocious. It was about,
Right.
yo, I'm this, I'm that,
Right.
and then this and that,
And then it saw its platform
right
to be a servant to the
what's going
community,
on.
and
Right.
now as a leader in the music genre.
Mhm.
Man, David, this whole thing couldn't have come together better if I would have put it together myself. This, oh my God, I can't wait to get into this conversation.
And I
Go ahead.
tell people I
Mhm.
don't do hip hop. I am hip hop.
We are hip hop.
Yeah.
So Mos Def, Yasin Bey,
Right.
top 5. He's in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
He has a song called "Fear Not a Man."
Right.
"Fear Not a Man" is "Man I Die." In the prelude of the song, he's talking, and he's like, why people ask what's going on with hip hop, and I say what's going on with hip hop is going on with you. We are hip as such. I love that song. I'm gonna see if I have some skills today to pull it up and play it. But if I don't, we can play it afterwards. I don't care. But I'm very excited. This is Hip Hop History Month.
Right.
And being that November only started a couple days ago, I figured it would be nice for us to mention it. And I'm glad that you're here to add to it. And David, I'm glad that you're here to hear how we here on the New York City Queens B-side is living it up. So you get a taste of how we are around these parts.
Yeah, so, I need that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, where you are, do you hear a lot of hip hop where you are?
No matter where you go in the world, everywhere I've ever traveled, hip hop is always carrying the cultures because people you'll be amazed at the suppression of all the worlds.
Right.
And when I say all the worlds, I'm simply different cultures. But hip hop always stands out. It always has something to bring up the people's spirit, and folk are always having a good time and festive. And in the food service community, it's all about having a good time. Right. So a lot of the guys that are in service work, you'll find hip hop is the thing that keeps that day going. So yeah, you'll see that here, even in Iraq.
Yeah, hip hop is worldwide.
It's definitely worldwide. So I just wanted to bring you into the conversation, and make sure that we could hear what's happening on the other side of the world. But happy Hip Hop History Month.
Yeah, happy hip hop history.
Wow. So we got the Eric Adams out the way. We got the bar. Well, we have the bars out the way. Mm-hmm. Now the hoops part, you might have to work with me on this. David, you'll definitely, both of you guys have to work with me on this. I am not familiar, but I do know the person's name. I do know who he is, and I know who he played for. However, when I was looking up servant leadership in sports, his name came up. Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan played for the Spurs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is retired now.
Right.
And is known not only for his dynamic play as a basketball player, but for his accomplishments as a leader.
Right.
And they said that he has been selected to the all defensive team 14 times. And it might be more because this is a fairly old article, written in 2015, which is 6 years ago.
Right.
So let me be fully transparent, so that way I'm not misquoting anything. But that at the time he was awarded 3 times the NBA Finals MVP and twice the NBA regular season MVP. Mm-hmm. And the Spurs had a long decade of winning. Did they own a decade? Were they like the Bulls?
Yeah, in their way, but the Bulls, the Bulls was dominating, right. But they were there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they were there though.
Okay.
The Spurs, they was one of the teams to beat.
Okay. So they wanted the teams to beat, and they were one of the teams to beat because of the article says Tim Duncan's leadership.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, David, I have, since I've been affiliated with Bars and Hoops, I'm more. You guys have caught me up in sports than I've been alive. So I feel like I'm catching up. But what I liked about it is that they said that there's yet for all his accomplishments and lasting mark of his incredible 17-year NBA career will be his unique approach to leadership. Duncan's decision to approach his leadership role with a servant's mindset has played a huge role in the Spurs' extended run of success. There are several key characteristics of servant leadership that raise the level of our teams and organization. So I wanted to share that today because we are talking about servant leadership. And as we go into our discussion today, wanted to start out from the sports point of view of what is servant leadership and how it plays on the team. And one of the things they say that servant leaders are flexible, and they said that Tim Duncan was flexible. He was a flexible player. That he could have easily vetoed trades for more talented players or demanded the Spurs play a certain style, but that tailored to his preference. But he was very flexible about who was brought in, and that he learned them as well as having them learn the way he played.
That's as a leader, that's a quality you're supposed to have. You're supposed to be able to recognize people's strength and make sure you put them right where you need them at. You know what I'm saying? Being a dictator all the time just usually don't work. That's not a good leader, because what you would cause is animosity and people not wanting to play with you.
Right. Well, that's what they were saying. They said that practically speaking, this could mean having to give up scoring a ton of points and sharing the spotlight. So what he did was he shared the spotlight with his team and made his team cohesive because he was flexible. And being willing to admit that someone else might be able to provide a better play or a better position than just hogging up everything because it's his team.
Right.
Right.
One man don't win the game. It takes the whole team.
It takes the whole team. Right. David, thoughts on that? Did I lose you?
Did you lose him?
David, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you now.
Okay, that was my fault. I actually had muted the mic because my computer was making crazy noises.
Yeah, I heard it.
But it's all good. Yeah. So with servant leaders, I mean, any time in any group, and that's the amazing thing. I don't care if it's on the playground. You'll find that when a kid is more flexible, when he's attended to his friends around him, if it's just as simple as being on the playground. But a boss or a person of leadership in any industry has to be more focused on the people around him than anything else. If he's not aware of his own actions, habits, and behaviors when he's dealing with other folk and taking other folk into consideration, he's going to fail to grab their attention, to grab their confidence, and most importantly, their trust. And you need both confidence and trust from the people you serve with. And the only way you can do that is to show them adequate respect in whatever they do. And like you said earlier, Connie, is that you got to be able to recognize that person for what they are and what they bring to the table.
Absolutely. The other characteristic they said that Tim Duncan had was that servant leaders are not threatened by others. And so they said that Duncan could have felt threatened by the arrival of Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili.
Right. Manu.
Okay. Right. See, thank you. They said he could have given into the urge to hold on to his power and declare that the Spurs were his team and no one else. And by all accounts, he had every right to feel that way. However, instead, he gave away his power, right?
I wouldn't say he gave away his power. I would say he gave them more power.
He empowered them.
He empowered them. Exactly.
He empowered them.
Yeah. So
he didn't give up his power. He empowered them.
Okay. So basically what he said, which allowed Parker and Manu to realize their potential on the court.
Right.
Thus, it's one huge reason why the Spurs have been difficult to beat, I guess, in this last decade, whenever they were winning.
Right.
The team is stronger than, what did you say? The team is stronger than any individual. Right. And even the great Michael Jordan didn't win any championships until he figured that out.
Absolutely. That's true. That you have to, because it's a whole team. I mean, as a leader, when it's time for you to be a leader and be directive, then you take a stern ground and you do that. Right. But as far as when you got a whole team, you got to play to everybody's strength, and everybody's got to know that you got their back when you rocking.
Absolutely.
And they're going to turn around and be loyal to you, and they're going to all gel together.
Absolutely. David?
Yes. Now, you know, when you're a true leader, that's what you bring out, the best in all the others around you. And it's nothing like being on a team. Anytime it's a team, that means everybody's contributing on the highest level. And the leader is the person that keeps everybody focused on becoming or being the best person they can be and knowing their role.
Absolutely.
He doesn't steal their glory. He doesn't want their glory. He wants to empower each individual where they are, and he'll make them look better on purpose.
Right.
On purpose.
On
Success
purpose.
on the basketball floor is dependent on a team of individuals learning to become a cohesive unit. And I
Right.
think that's teams anyway, right?
Yeah.
That's on any floor.
Anything that you do, I don't care. You look at any successful man out there, anybody that's real successful,
Right.
he had to have a team with him in order to get to that point.
Right.
You know, anybody.
Well, they said that the cohesion is only possible when everyone feels support from their teammates. If Manu and Parker never felt that Duncan wanted them to become great, their growth as players would have been stunted.
It would have been stunted
completely.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
guys being fans, you
Mhm.
guys saw that.
Yeah, you can see all of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is good. I found something good. Okay. Servant leaders understand their value. And so, from an outside perspective, it might seem that by taking this approach, servant leaders are working against themselves by lessening their influence or power within a team. In reality, the opposite is just happening. The more a leader can empower others, the more invaluable they become. Your value as a leader is directly tied to how well you can help others raise their level of performance.
Facts.
Period.
Yeah, that's
Period.
facts.
The truly indispensable leaders on any team are the ones that give away their power, or as you and David correctly said, empower others.
Right.
Influence and personal prestige for the good of the team. Those kinds of leaders are rare, but those kinds of leaders make a difference, and those kind of leaders become truly irreplaceable.
Facts.
So shout out to Tim Duncan
Mhm.
for kicking off our conversation today on servant leadership. David, did you have anything else to say in that regard about the invaluable?
No, that's good. You covered it all. You knocked it out of the park.
I tried to.
And we're working cohesively to
We
get this
are,
done.
we are. Even with our guest, who's not a guest, we're actually in his house. But we appreciate the input. And so we're gonna go to a song break. I actually like this song. This song is very motivational. I think it will get us into the rhythm of our discussion today. It is also by someone who I consider a servant leader, Fela Kuti, the Pan-African Nigerian Afrobeat god when it comes to music. And so we're going to hear a little bit of Water No Get No Enemy from Fela Kuti.
Delaware, oh me lo malo. If you want go wash, now what are you go use? To bafesebe, oh me lo malo. If you want cook soup, now what are you go use? Tori bambo na oh me lero. If your head is hot, now what a kukulam. Tomo bandagba, oh me lo malo. If your child they grow, what a him go use? If water kill your child, now what are you go use? No. Told me back come on, oh me no lo malo. Oh someone to the shake, oh malo me oh. Nothing without water. Oh someone to the shake, oh malo me oh. Oh me you love water. You don't get any. Oh me you love water. You don't get any. If you fight them unless you wonder. You don't get any. I say water no get any. You don't get any. If you fight them unless you wonder. You don't get any. Oh me you love water. You don't get any. But they talk of black man power. You don't get any. But they talk of black power. I say you don't get any. I say water no get enemy. You don't get any. If you fight them unless you want die. You don't get any. I say water no get enemy. You don't get any. I say water no get enemy. You don't get enemy. Oh me you love ta oh. You don't get enemy. Oh me you love ta oh. You don't get enemy. Da 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 da.
That was Fila, the best ever Black president, here on Bars and Hoops Radio. That is one amazing, amazing, amazing song. Mr. Fela Kuti did a service today by starting out this conversation in regards to servant leadership. And the reason why I played that song is Mr. Kuti is known for his political activism through music. And I read a article from when he was interviewed back in 1986, and he was just released from jail. And basically, why I wanted to start our discussion today is because I consider him a servant leader. And when he was asked, since there was strong political pressures to put on him, were they friendly? Were his jailers friendly while he was locked up? And he said, they are ordinary Africans. They suffer the same things we suffer. They just work for their pay. They don't necessarily have to be hostile toward me because they understand what I'm doing. They really aren't against me. So he understood who they were.
Yeah.
And he understood that he was locked up by people who were suffering the same way he was suffering. And that by him being locked up, it afforded him an opportunity to see it from a different angle. And so he really has some characteristics that we're going to talk about today. If you're just joining us, my name is Chandra Daniels. This is the C-Suite. I am the principal consultant of Monarch Productions, and we are joined by my managing consulting partner, David Rowe, and our guest today, Tiny.
That's right.
From Bars and Hoops Radio. So let's get to it, guys. We are talking about servant leadership. And what is that? What do you guys think it is? Like, Tiny?
Well, it is, you're leading from an experience of the people.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically.
So, yeah. It's like, you going through what they went through, and so you're gonna lead because you know what they feeling and what everything is about.
Right. You have a piece of it. You understand.
Right. I understand totally because I can tell you a story and what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Of the example of what he just did. Right. I'm a union delegate, and as I'm at my facility,
right,
I'm one of the best there is.
Okay.
So they all come to me to fight for them.
Okay.
So 3 years ago, we're going through a negotiation.
For your contract?
For our contract.
Okay.
For the new contract. So I'm going to every floor, getting everybody, not riled up, but come through, make sure you go get ready to strike the vote. We're going to vote to strike. If we're going to strike. I'm getting everybody on board. They refuse to give us our contract. Let's go.
Right.
So management came to me. Well, they went to my supervisor in the kitchen first.
Okay.
To come talk to me about going on the floors, talking to them. And I let them know, like, I'm a union representative. I'm a union delegate. I have the right to go talk to my people about what's going on with the union, especially if y'all not doing anything right.
Right.
So my supervisor said, well, you got to stay off the floor. I said, okay, you know what? If I got to stay off the floor, I'm going to stay off the floor, but watch what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Right.
She took that as a threat. She went, told administration, they sat me in the room or whatever, and they suspended me.
Wow.
Because they was afraid of what I was going to do the next day.
Right.
I said, wait a minute, why are you suspending me? What's the purpose?
Right.
They was like, because you said you're going to do. No, I didn't say anything. I didn't say I was going to do anything. I said, y'all told me I couldn't go on the floors. Wait till y'all see what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Right.
That doesn't mean I was going on the floors.
Right.
I'm telling y'all simply, I can't stop me from getting the word out to my people. So if I got to come here, well, I didn't say all of that. I just took the suspension.
Right.
Right. Now, I was mad at first, but then I was glad afterwards.
Why?
Because see, what they did was they figured if they cut the head off the snake, everybody else was going to fall.
Right.
But the opposite happened. Opposite went different. Because they suspended me, it made the people get closer and the people got stronger. You understand? They
So you
saw
took one for the team,
right. They saw what I did, and
Right.
everybody came
and it
together.
wasn't your
even,
intent to be suspended.
right,
You said, "Watch what I do tomorrow."
Right.
They actually made that happen.
right. They
right,
made that
right,
happen.
right.
So everybody got together and they marched down to the office on the strength of me.
Right.
So they went there and they letting them know that's not happening. We're not going for it. I mean, everybody came and they did that. So what they did was made my people stronger without me. See, you thought you was cutting the head off the leader, but you didn't. You actually made everybody
Oh
stronger
my
in the
goodness!
building.
Oh my goodness! That is exactly what servant leaders is.
Right.
So and that was a great example. That was a great example from like today, like modern
Right.
times, because your intent, you got in trouble in a certain kind of way,
right.
You didn't take your trouble as your own
Yeah, as my own hurt.
right. You saw the benefit of
them doing
look what's
what
going to
they
happen
did.
now. You put the
Right.
word out that I didn't even have to put out. On top of that, I'll take the L. I'll
Right.
take the suspension as long as the people that I work with are empowered.
Right.
Using your platform as a way, because like Phila said, they're suffering just like I am.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing to go through. If I had to get suspended for them to get empowered, then
that's what I did.
Right.
And it still worked out because they paid me for the days they suspended me because they suspended me unjustly.
Right.
Because I didn't do anything.
But in the beginning, it didn't feel like that. It didn't
Right.
feel unjust. It felt
No.
like, and then you said, wait a minute, I could be mad. Or I can turn this. And so you were very aware.
Right.
You were very empathetic.
Yeah.
You listen. Okay. You're way ahead of the conversation, but it's great because you gave it as example to really talk off of. I want to pivot over to David. Hearing what Tani just shared, and just what we talked about, Fela Kunsi, can you give us your perception and your definition of what servant leadership is?
Absolutely. Well, I like the fact that he just defined it. He made it real simple. You simply empower other people.
That's it.
And make them aware. Bringing people into the awareness of who they are is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Absolutely being conscious of the fact that, you might be the leader, but you're not the only person in the room that makes the difference. And you have to give people that confidence, and they have to trust you as that leader. So it's really about taking what you have and ensuring that you spread that through the group so that they know that the attributes you've developed over time is compartmentalized in each one of them. And the goal is for you to identify that in them and to help absolutely bring it up, to take it up to a notch, and to encourage them no matter what's going on. And when people know you got their back and they see in you what you are trying to bring out in them, because you see that part of you in them that is probably exceeding where you could ever be.
Right.
And it happened for them a lot sooner because you're an older guy now, or you might not be, but you're maybe more experienced. But this person is getting in the business, and you're going to change their lives because you see the potential that somebody saw in you. So if you can do that for others, that's what to me is being a servant leader.
Absolutely. So the definition, and this is coming from the Center for Servant Leaders. The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. The person is sharply different from one who is a leader first, perhaps because the need to have an unusual power drive or to acquire material possessions. The leader first and the servant first are two extreme types.
Yeah,
they're like opposites. Between them, there are shadings and blends that are part of the infinite variety of human nature. So the difference manifests itself in taking care of being the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are served. In your example, the priority was the information getting out to your members,
co-workers,
right?
Members, yeah.
And so while you were getting suspended for something that you didn't even do but was misinterpreted in what you said,
right,
you took the suspension. Now you could have stopped and fought the suspension.
Right. I could have.
You could have stopped whatever you were doing and went over to grievance, fought your suspension, completely forgetting about why you got suspended in the first place, and the members would not have been empowered.
Right.
Right.
But I took it because I said, this is a good thing.
Mhm.
Like, I was mad at first, don't get me wrong. But then when I started thinking further and I was going home,
Mhm.
I was like, nah, this is a good thing. Let's see what the people do after they see that I'm going. Like, suspended. And sure enough, what they did, it worked the opposite way. And I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Well, I think so. You were
Yeah.
supposed to be here today, Tiny. I'm serious. Do these basically it says the best test and difficult to admit is, do those served grow as persons? Check.
Yes.
Right? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely to themselves become servants?
True.
Okay. And what is the effect of the least privileged in society? Will they benefit, or will the least not be further deprived? And so in your instance, no one was deprived except for yourself, and not even because you got back pay.
Yeah, I got
right?
back. Yeah, I got
right?
back my pay.
And so at the end of the day, servant leadership ends up being where everyone benefits.
That's the 100%.
Everyone,
fact.
not 2%, not 3%,
but
the
everyone.
entire right. So your entire team benefited.
Right.
And so we are talking about servant leadership today here on the C-Suite. My name is Chandra Daniels. I'm your host. We are joined by managing consultant David Rowe and our guest DJ Tiny.
What's going on?
Right. And if you are listening on Bars and Hoops Radio at www.barshoopsradio.com, you can call in to 516-206-0711. Right. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can call in to 516-206-0711. That's my plug for Bars and Hoops Radio and YouTube. Right. So this is turning out to be a great conversation. So David, in your experience and leading teams, do you find servant leadership to be a style that you embrace or have embraced while you were leading your teams? Since I know you've led teams for over 100 people, and that's a lot when you have a lot of things to do with. Can you talk to that vein?
Yeah, so servant leadership is the only style I've ever had, but I didn't know what to call it.
Right.
I was doing that when I was in middle school playing basketball. And one of the things, and this is not about tooting my horn, this is just what you would perceive as an unconscious competent person, meaning that I can do something right, but not know what I'm doing right. So as a kid growing up, I was on basketball teams, baseball teams, but one of the things I had to do is there were people on the team that were better at certain things that I did.
Right.
But I played second fiddle intentionally. There was times when we had a point guard, Benny Daniels was an awesome point guard. But I was a dominant player because of my size. And when you're a taller kid in those days, you could just be dominant because you're bigger than everybody else and you can handle the ball and do whatever.
Right.
But I had to play second fiddle for him to come out of what he was in that cocoon, and he actually became the superior leader to our basketball team for the rest of our lives in high school. And I didn't know I was doing that right. I was just, backing down because I didn't want him to feel inferior because we were real close friends. And there's so many of us that play second fiddle. So right. On my job in leading teams, there's a lot of times when I played second fiddle, and it was intentional. Because I learned that, I remembered, and I used to think about what I did back then, and it made sense that, well, that was a tool that I was totally unaware that I was using to uplift a teammate. Now I can use that for real. So when I see people who have skills far better than mine, they're not aware of that because somebody's never told them that. And a lot of people suppress other folk because they are jealous or they're afraid to give up that leash.
Yes.
So in that process of trying to lead teams, I discovered that you literally have to be very intentional to bring out the best in other folk and don't be ashamed to let them know, hey, you got far more skills than I got in this area. You just need to use them more and step down. So I've had to do that all of my military life, and especially out here in the competitive world of contracting, because there's a lot of people that are just they're uncertain and they know that they can be replaced. But they didn't serve like that before, and now they have to because you know what, you're not the best thing out there, and somebody can easily replace you. So I thank God for that awakening and early in my life, and that humbling experience of actually having to be a servant leader, even when I didn't know what to call it.
I think it's amazing that you said that, because I think it's something that's innate. And I think that's why you both are here at this conversation.
Mhm.
Servant leaders, I do believe it comes from within.
Yeah.
It's who you are. And so while we're having this discussion and you guys are bringing up great points, let's talk about the word servant leadership, because as we did the research in order to have this conversation today, I came across an article by Bethany Van Biscotten, and she says many people who hear the term servant leadership for the first time are confused. Servants aren't thought of as leaders, and leaders aren't thought of as servants. So why is this is a contradiction? But it's exactly why the name was chosen. For most of history, leadership was defined by title and wealth.
Mhm.
When you think about it, kings became kings because they had the title, but they had the money. They probably, they got the money from the people. They gathered it up. They robbed, they stole, they did whatever, but they became who they were. They might have got it, the right way. However the case, they became the leaders. People are born into leadership. So the king had a son. The son got his leadership from his father or the descendant of whoever was on the throne, and which means that leadership is seen hierarchically, right? Luckily, theories and practices like servant leadership have proven that anyone can be a leader, and true leaders are rarely defined by title or wealth, and that's facts. So we look at the president. You asked earlier about the leaders, and that's what let's hit it back.
Right.
You asked about the mayors that we had in the past 4 decades.
Right.
Have we seen anything different? Right? They were chosen by the people, elected by the people. However, were they of service to the people?
Right.
And close inspection. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the difference as far as like Bloomberg and Mayor Dinkins, right? One was born rich and was forever rich, so he was privileged,
right?
So he don't know the struggle of the people.
Okay.
Dinkins, on the other hand, he grew up in the neighborhood,
right?
He grew up that way, so he not only witnessed it, he felt it. He felt the struggle,
right?
So when he came to become a leader, this is where he's being a servant of, because of from experience of what he's experienced,
right?
So he's coming from a different view on how to do things,
on
for
how
the
to make
better
the
of the
impact
people.
for the people,
right?
Right.
But when you got Bloomberg, who had made everybody waiting on him, and
right?
Title, whatever,
right?
At any time he snapped his fingers, he can have anything. He don't know what it's like to not have a meal come on your table. He don't know what it's like to be starving and trying to get money to make ends meet. He don't know that.
Okay.
All he knows is, this is my world, and this is how I'm going to lead this city this way.
Right. And I see your point. Although I don't want it to get construed that just because someone's rich, they can't be a servant leader, because that will take away the whole purpose of our conversation, because a piece of it is that they understand. So someone like a Tim Duncan, who had all the rings and had all the stuff, when he was able to bring new players in, let's just use as an example, he didn't strut his stuff and say, I'm the king of the Spurs, I bring you in. And so go ahead.
Yet though, when he started as a rookie, right, he was around other people that had that mentality. I'm the leader, I'm doing this, you do what I'm saying,
and he didn't adopt that,
right? So what he did was experience that. He was a servant of that. So once he experienced that, if he should ever become the leader, he know he was going to do something different,
right? So in the case of your case of Bloomberg, which is a great example,
right?
Look at Mayor Bloomberg now. I mean, he's not mayor of the city,
no,
but he still has his billions of dollars. He still has Bloomberg Financial. He still has his company. However, because he experienced what he experienced as New York City's mayor and caught gripe at a lot of stuff, although I do feel that he was a moderately better mayor than some of the mayors we've had. I was not here when Dinkins was mayor. I was actually in Philadelphia. So I missed that whole thing. Plus I was young. I wasn't paying attention to any type of political anything. However, I was cognizant of what was happening. The bottom line is that I think your point of the experience is what you become the servant to, right?
Right.
And so now you can look at Mayor Bloomberg. You can check up and see what he's doing. He's more turned to being involved with what's happening to the people, but from a different perspective. He still has his whole, who he is. But I think that your distinction of the two mayors is definitely heard. But when we're speaking about servant leadership, where are we coming from? Where is it coming from? It's coming from a place of within, and that's I think you made that point too,
right?
And so I wanted to make sure we carried that.
Like, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let me give you another perfect example of servant leader, right? Leadership. Let's go preacher.
Okay.
You got 2 churches, 2 preachers. One preacher is an ex-drug addict, ex-robber, ex-criminal, whatever.
Right.
Went through all of that mud.
Okay.
And came out shining like a light, whatever you call it, and he became the preacher to preach.
Right.
On this other church, this person's straight A student, never got in trouble in their life, never did anything wrong, but yet he does become the leader, and he does, and he preaches what he knows, right? You know the history of both of these people,
right?
Which church would you go to?
So I don't know, to be honest with you, just based on the preacher, because I tend to want to say I go to a church where the word is, where I hear the word. I'm being 100. You're asking me a question. I'm being 100. Right. But I understand where your question is coming from.
Right.
So to be totally honest and to draw us back into the conversation, I don't know, because that's based on that. I need to see his church. I need to see what his church is doing. Right. Just because of the background, just because of where they came from. What is you walked us into a good point, because backgrounds, and I think David said this earlier, it's how you said it too, how we empower people. So if both of them are empowering the church members, right? The whole purpose of church, the whole purpose of what Jesus preached was to be able to go out and make fishes among men, right? To go out and make disciples among men. And so Jesus was a servant leader, right? He was, and I was getting to the point of, we confused the word with servant as of the servility of it, right? But it was also about being service to the mission of what you're called to do. And I think that's the piece of what the author of the article was saying. And David, you jump in whenever you're ready. Is that your service to the mission and not to yourself. And so the leader who was an ex-everything and has this great church, are the people being empowered? Are we seeing what we talked about before? Are we seeing the freedom of thought? Are we seeing people being autonomous? Are they able to fish for themselves? And if it's happening with the same side, then the deciding factor is, is this close to my house? Is it something where I can bring my family? So I think there are many factors, but I understand your point. Let me be clear.
Yeah, because I'm asking.
I understand your point.
I want to ask him the same.
No, I know he's ready, because I heard him clear his voice. When I heard him clear his voice, I know he got something to say. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. So one of the things about leadership is you have to understand it's a learned skill.
Right.
It's something that's learned. The servant part comes from the course of humilities of your trials and tests.
Right.
One of the things that I can say is I've had the propensity to be somewhat wholesome, but at the same time, somewhat gully, because I've had the experience of both worlds. The challenge is understanding that if that leader from the world, from, say, for instance, we call from the world, the guy that was gangster, the guy that done all the things, if he's actually the leader that I would think he is, and that's because he's understanding, he's going to have an audience of people that are also people that never experienced what he had. And for him to understand how to reach them, because a lot of folk don't understand the trauma of being a person that caused a lot of wreak havoc, going to jail, doing all the things. They don't understand that. And they're going to come to that church because the church, the man of God is probably anointed. He has a word. He's moving that group of people in something, and they're curious. A lot of folk will step in just to see, I don't believe he's totally converted. They'll go there and to find out this man is the real deal, because he's been challenged that way. And so I think both of them would learn quickly where they are short at and surround themselves with the deacons and the deaconesses that can actually fill that void, because that's what a servant leader do. They'll say, hey, look, I'm not the best candidate for teaching this Bible study, but I guarantee you, Deacon so-and-so, he can take us to another level. And that's where leadership, that learned skill, transforms. And that's where you know you are a true servant leader, when you can step down and say, hey, I'm not the one for this message, but let me give somebody an opportunity that has been somewhere that I can't talk on or speak on. And so that's what makes the leadership world such a powerful place, is when we know our roles in that. And every leader, they can be a servant leader, but a lot of them don't. They don't want to relinquish the respect that hard leadership and what they are used to in the world, coming up in the world, where they were just being brassy and being that person that stood out and got a lot of attention. They don't want to walk away from that. So being a servant leader is a special calling, but it's something that everybody can do, because it's also a learned skill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the most amazing part, is that servant leadership goes against the beliefs that leadership is defined as hierarchical, right? Or patriarchal, or related to wealth and status. Instead, as the name implies, it is focused on serving others to help them grow, often without the title or recognition that comes with many leadership roles. And I think that this would be a good time for us to go to break. This is a great conversation. This is the C-Suite. My name is Charlotte Daniels. How dare I? Because I gotta play some music. We'll be right back. I promise you, we'll be right back.
I woke up this morning and I said, instead of waiting for a good day to happen, waiting around through ups and downs, I just said, look, we're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today, and all these moments look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You can save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a good day. Fresh, new cologne on, feeling so good, change the color to my phone. Orange Kool-Aid go good with Patron. Oh no, hell no. It's still my ringtone, free car wash. Had to clean up the Dodge. Give back when I can, just playing my part. Church folks had a fish fry, mustard, hot sauce, light bread, french fries. Love for the big guy, hit the park, blowing, showing off their house. Nappy Roots on the radio, and you know what about last night to hit the big three. Bought some Air Force Ones, 4 tall tees. Man, I'm loving Big G. And all my homies gonna ride today, and all these moments look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You can save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and I ain't fit to worry about what nobody say, 'cause I'm still above ground, and that's the reason I pray. Got my car cleaned up, now I'm ready to play. Make a call to the stick, say I'm headed that way. Heard my cousin cooking out, I gotta get me a plate. Got this new outfit, ain't even out in the States. So I ain't speaking too soon, but this is a hell of a day. And the stick got me sitting in a hell of a place. Got my stunner shades on and the grin on my face. No real looks mean, but I swear I'm straight. And the hood showing love, so I'm A-OK. We're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today, and all these moments look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You can save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a good day. We might as well do exactly what the children say. Take the day off, hit the park and just hang. Barbecue, roll a few and put up the deuce. And if it's beef, put the piece down, throw up your dukes. It's time to change our ways so we can save the day for the children's sake and make a better place to play. If it's all good, we got your coupe and grip your wood. And if you're riding dirty, like to flip and blow you. But do it real big, exactly like a player should. Enjoy your 24, do your thing and rep your hood. The world is all yours, but still we all grind forever in a day. The choice you make is really all fine. Good day, and all my homies gonna ride today, and all these moments look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and ain't nobody gotta cry today, 'cause ain't nobody gonna die today. You can save that trouble for another day. Hey, we're gonna have a good day, and all my homies gonna ride today, and all these moments look fly today, and all we wanna do is get by today.
are back. That was Good Day by the Nappy Roots. So, welcome back. This is the C-Suite. My name is Chandra Daniels, your host. We are here today with David Rowe, managing partner of Monarch Pros, and DJ Tiny. So, David, Tiny told me in the break that he wanted to let you know, or let us know, what preacher he would choose. He wanted to make sure he got his preacher choice in. Who he's going to see on who he's going to see on Sunday.
Yeah. The one I'm going to see is the one that went through it all.
Okay, why?
Because that's like, I'm a person, I don't drink.
Okay.
Right? I don't drink at all. I don't smoke and I don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
A person that does drink is like an alcoholic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How can I tell that person how to get off of something I didn't experience?
Okay.
You understand? What I'm doing is chastising. Yo, you know what? You really need to stop drinking. It's harming you. You're doing this, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I don't know what he's feeling.
Right.
In order to know what he's feeling, you would have to go through that and been through that. And then once you've been through that and gone through that,
right,
you'll be able to tell him, all right, I've been where you was at.
Okay.
This is what I had to do to get off of this. This is the steps I took. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to chastise you because it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm going to tell you what I did. And then maybe you'll follow through.
Right.
A preacher that went through everything is not going to be chastising people that's coming to their church. So they coming to their church as people looking for answers. There's people looking for help. There's people looking for people that been through what they've been through to show them the light on how to get out of that.
Right.
So that's where the servant is coming from as that preacher, because he's been through everything, jail, whatever, bill, whatever.
Right.
Now he's like at the light. I'm going to tell you what I did to get to where I get to.
Right.
I'm not chastising you. I'm not coming down on you. I just letting y'all know I've been there. It is a way you can get out of this. Follow me. Let me take you out.
Okay. And I can see why you would choose that. And I'm going to respect that choice.
Right.
I disagree with it totally. I'm just letting you know on the record I do. And not because of anything more that you had. It can be said with anything that some people, and that's ideal. So I would say, yes, ideally you are 1000% correct. However, we don't live in an ideal world, and people who you expect to have gone through stuff shouldn't judge people who go through stuff, but they do. They do.
Whoa.
And they do for whatever reason. No, don't know why. They just do. Not to say all do.
Yeah.
Right. But I do understand where you're coming from. I just disagree. That's it.
It's all right for you to disagree.
It is, but I do appreciate your choice. And I get to where you're coming from. And you and I, we have debates all the time. We have great conversations. Yeah. So I because I have been privy to some of your thought process, I get it. I totally get it. But we're gonna move on. We are talking about servant leadership today here with DJ Tiny and the managing partner of Monarch Pros, David Rowe. And so, David, we kind of defined what servant leadership is. I think we did. I thought we did. But just to reiterate, servant leadership is a style based on the desire to serve and give to your community. Point blank.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it started basically on helping to teach others how to teaching people to understand that it's not just about you, and that it was supposed to benefit the organization as a whole. From people from ground level, from entry level to top up to the hierarchy, for people to understand that if we utilize everybody in an organization and not just the CEO to make decisions, and not just the person assigned to the CEO make the decisions, that everyone has an input on how this works, it could be truly effective. A modern day example is Southwest Airlines. Do you know when Southwest started in 1971, they didn't have a lot of planes. They didn't have a lot of flights. They had 200 employees. They have been going 47 years strong, and they've added 4,000 flights per day. And this was pre-pandemic. They've added over 700 airplanes or something like that. And they have never gone in arrears. They haven't had to lay off people. And they continue to grow as an organization because their CEO utilizes this type of leadership, which is servant leadership. And let me tell you, as a customer of Southwest Airlines, if you're out there listening, Southwest, I am one of your favorite customers. Feel free to want
Me
to be a sponsor.
too.
I know you are. Can I borrow some of your miles? I need to go to Denver next month.
No,
I just
you wouldn't get any. Wouldn't get much from me. We charter
I
flights,
would.
so
Oh yeah, well you
yeah.
do. That's not gonna help me. Nonetheless, I'm sorry. I'm Tiny. I'm in this travel bug,
I see.
right? I just came back from Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, I love this country. I love it. I love it. So I'm off to Denver in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping trying to squeeze in LA by the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
We'll see what
You
happens.
definitely traveling.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm talking to Southwest right now. And I wanted to use an example because they are, airline. We use that all the time. And it's good to know that companies are run. I mean, we spend money with these companies. And I think that, I think to our earlier conversations, I don't know if it was you or David, but how we spend our money, because money is such rooted around everything that we do, is how we make our choices, and how you can pivot things to happen in this country, because you can pull your dollars somewhere and put it somewhere else to make a difference.
My cousin happens to work for Southwest.
Really?
Yeah, I got a cousin that wherever they go, he's like go. He done lived in like 5 different cities.
And does he love his company?
Yeah, he been there for forever.
Forever. They said that people very rarely quit. They love their jobs.
Mhm.
And I love the flights. I flew Spirit to Tennessee and was very impressed with them as well. And kind of mentioned them. I was like, oh, now I'm gonna let Southwest know that you guys got competition. They kind of got mad that I said that, but I was just like, I couldn't beat their price. They had like a ridiculous price to go to Tennessee, and I had to take it.
I know something about they got like standby sometimes where you can get it like a cheaper flight because somebody might cancel at the last minute.
They do. And they're not bad. Not to segue from the conversation, David, but it's travel season, holidays coming up.
No, that's not getting away from it. That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly what we do, because we do it as well. It's Spirit has, I like them. First time I've flown them in a very long time. And was very impressed. Got to my destination in time, was contacted when the gate changed and things happened. No problems. Tennessee Airport, the one I flew into, was really well monitored. I mean, I got through security in less than 5 minutes. It's when I left out of LaGuardia, that takes forever, but I still did good.
Yeah,
I got to look, but I only did 20 minutes in the line at LaGuardia.
LaGuardia is the worst.
Listen, that is, and they're doing major changes. It looks beautiful there. It looks absolutely beautiful.
I was there when they was in the middle of the changes.
Oh my God, it was crazy with the subways and the highways and all that stuff.
Just trying to drive to the main terminal.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was
just
crazy.
ridiculous. So I'm sorry. When I get, David, when I get to travel, I'm ready. Listen, if I didn't have the show today, I'd be in Philadelphia. So I'm ready to travel. I'm always ready to travel. But getting back to our discussion, having servant, and it's why we can have this discussion, having a servant leader involved in the maintenance and the running of a company makes a difference in the company itself and the customers that they serve. We would not be talking about how great this company is if you don't hear us mentioning the ones we don't like. Right. And not even hear us talking about it. We don't spend money with that. Servant leadership will increase not only your morale and your production of your teams, but it will increase your profits. Because not only your profits benefiting your organization, is benefiting everyone. I can't stress it. Servant leadership is about community. So this is great. You can't make these conversations up. I come here excited every first and third Saturday, not knowing what to expect. And then I get here and get greatness. Just get greatness, David. I get greatness. So what is servant leadership? We defined it. What are the characteristics of servant leadership? And it's funny because you guys talked about it kind of in some of what you described. David, I'm going to defer to you. What do you think of some of the, or what would you say are some of the characteristics of servant leadership?
Well, one of them is just the self-awareness is a big key to me. Awareness doesn't get the conversation that it should get in our community, because what awareness does is it shapes the opportunities you have, and it helps you recognize opportunity. With awareness, you're not just aware of how you feel, but you're aware of the environment. You're aware of the emotions of the people you work with. You're aware of what they like, what they don't like. You're aware of their interests on a level that you had to work for that. You literally went out and said, hey, Chandra, so what is it you do? You know, you are going to make a grand effort on getting to know who you're working with, what motivates them to work, because unlike you, when you say this, when you know what people are doing, what they're doing for, you can leverage that information so that they stay motivated to continue to climb to climb that ladder to become more successful. So I think that's a very key. But not only that, you can't be aware of something if you're not listening.
Absolutely.
And listening don't have to be in conversation, but also just seeing how your people move, what they're doing, paying attention to how they move and what they say. When you say things, how do they react? Listening with your eyes, listening with the feelings you feel when you walk in the building, watching what they listen to, what's inspirational to them, what's conversational to them. So those are two things that I can definitely magnify and know that it can transform anybody's life on any level, because when you know what somebody's emotionally tied to, when they want something, you can leverage those emotions to get them what they want faster, more aggressively, and most importantly, they'll appreciate it, even though that's a form of manipulation.
Really expound on that a little bit.
So if I'm leveraging your emotions, if I know what you like, if I know you're concerned about your daughter and you love her to death, and you come to the job, you're talking to one of the bosses, and he's talking real rude to you and doing things to you and saying things to you and being shysty, and you just up and say, you know, Dave, I'm gonna quit. I'm out of here, man. I don't care. Well, when I know why you're doing that, when I know who your motivating factor is, and that's your daughter, says, okay, you're just going to quit on Jenny? I thought you wanted her to continue to go to this charter school that you worked so hard to get her into. You're just going to walk out on this and just give up because this jackass did you a certain kind of way? Is that all it takes, is to just get you upset, get you riled up, and you just going to quit? Because the last time I saw you doing what you do, we talked about this. You said you wouldn't quit on anything, especially your daughter. When I can use that kind of language in a conversation with you, it changes what you're deciding to do. And you probably won't quit, but you might adjust your mindset and go in somewhere. So I just need to cool off, man. Just give me a little minute. I just need to go somewhere and get out of this environment. I'm gonna take off, go home, and just think about it. And I guarantee you, when you go and look Jenny in the eye, you're gonna start thinking about, I just can't quit on her. This dude ain't gonna run me off. I got potential. I know I do, and I'm gonna keep going up. So that's expounding on it a little bit, but it's still manipulation. I manipulated that situation with knowing that your emotions were tied to your daughter. You heard what I said. It got you to stay around. You went on ahead and continue to work at that place because you had a motivating factor.
So I would define that as persuasion.
It is,
right?
But I use that word because you heard it.
Right.
It made you think about it. Yeah.
Right.
It was just the way I said it. Yeah.
It's the way you said it. But no, you absolutely, that's why I said I wanted to say, wow, that sounds like persuasion.
It's persuasion 100%.
But I mean,
but it's leveraging emotion, which is
leveraging emotions. It's definitely leveraging emotions. Go ahead, Tony. That's absolutely, David. Absolutely.
But see, at the same time, right? He was being a servant, leadership. He knew how to talk him out of doing something that he's going to regret later. Because
he's serving the community. He didn't capitalize on it and try to get something from it.
Nah.
He saw it as an opportunity to say, wait a minute, I can help here.
Right.
That's where that's the big difference of what a servant leader is. Understanding that people don't serve you.
Right.
You're there to serve the people.
Right.
And in serving the people, your needs also get met because you are the people that you're serving. Like you don't miss a beat. You're just changing the direction of the song.
And I just learned a different way on how to approach people just by what he said, by using a family member, because I went through a similar incident that way, but I didn't use the family member.
Right.
I used him. I said, yo, so you're gonna let the boss win? The way he's gonna win, he got you out of your job.
Right.
He took money out your pocket. You don't let them win like that.
Right.
You understand? If you're gonna win, you win on the correct level. Let them fire you so you can still collect money or
Right.
whatever. But you don't let them run you off. You don't let anybody mess
No.
up your money. You don't do that. You stay there, you fight the fight, and you don't let them win. By you leaving and you quitting, they won the fight.
But you were able to
Absolutely.
learn, like, okay, I can
Right.
leverage this differently
Right.
by the power of persuasion
Absolutely.
or as manipulative conversation. But it really is the power of persuasion.
It is.
That to me, that sounds more professional than saying, "Oh, we manipulate," but it's also honest, right? Because that's what.
Well, I'm being raw and uncut.
You're being honest.
Yeah.
You're being transparent. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
because
having
persuasion is manipulation.
it is. It really. It's a nice way of saying you're manipulating the conversation, but you're using it for the good. You're saying, "Let me see what I can use to help the situation be better, not only for myself, if not myself, for others. Because when I'm serving others, and I'm pleased myself, right? I think that piece comes. So you said persuasion. You said persuasion. You said awareness. You said listening.
Yes.
What else would you say, David? And then I'm going to defer to Tiny.
It goes back to the empathy. You remember Tiny mentioned that how he had empathy for his people, and he wouldn't have went out and said and done what he did and got removed from that scene by getting suspended, so to speak. If you don't have that level of awareness, knowing that, you know what, man, we got to do something, and you can feel it from somebody else's. They needed him to do what he did, and even though he didn't see the outcome, him going home and being suspended, what ended up benefiting is that he empowered them, and it turned on the people that was trying to use or go against them. And if he had not been empathetic about that situation, and starting to feel for, hey, look, we got to do something different. We got to make this happen. It would have never happened the way it happened. If he'd have fought, if he'd have got selfish about it, when it went in about all this about me, y'all ain't gonna do me like this, because that's what we typically do. We forget about it because we caught up in emotions, and we're driven by that. But when you're not, when you're aware of that situation, like, you know what, I'm fired up, but let me think about this. You know, if I do this, this is so much better for them, because they need their job. If I do this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, now they can really, you're being a servant leader, because it's not about you anymore, but it's also about you, because you're benefiting from seeing them empowered and the change that they're going to experience, because you dedicated that mindset of going, you know what, it's not about me, it's about you.
I'm not even going to lie to you. I felt so proud. Like I got a natural high off of watching all those people come and do what they did just for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it made them stronger. I was so happy.
Them helping you help themselves,
right?
And
absolutely.
I mean, but it was a part of the big circle, because you were helping them in the first place,
right?
But then you caught an L. You took the L, but didn't use the L against.
Right. I didn't really catch it.
No, you didn't, but it looked like you caught an L, right? You caught the L with the suspension. That's what triggered the whole everything else.
Everything.
You, like I said, you could have taken the L and been like, you know what? Let me fight the suspension, and taken the awareness off of why you were there in the first place. So and you felt that natural high because you succeeded at what you were supposed to do innately.
No, I felt the natural high because people wasn't scared to fight. Right.
You empowered them. You saw the results of, and guess what? You didn't say, hey, I did that. I did that. You didn't say that. You let the accomplishment itself reward you.
That's it.
Work for you.
I was happy just for that and everything. Even though they threw a big party for me.
Well, you know what? This next song is for you. This next song is for you, Tiny. We're going to break. We'll be right back. This is the C-Suite.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know the turn. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. here, and the lights are on, and they wanna show. Yeah. A fresh, cool young Lou trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees. What have you brung you? Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list? Who brung you? You, the more famous person, you come through, and the sexy lady next to you come too. And then the hitman standing outside of heaven waiting for God to come and get me. I'm too uncouth, unschooled to the rules, and too gumshoe. Too much of a newcomer and too uncool. Like shadow in the veil, I battle with it well. Though I need a holiday like lady who sung blue. Go back, whatever you did, you undo. Heavy as heaven, the devil on me 2 tons too. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. Yeah. And you better wear your shades. The spotlights here can burn holes through the stage. Down through the basement, past the Indian graves where the dinosaurs laid. And out through China, nearly misses airliners. Magnified ×5. This is pointing at the rhyme. Ricochets off the moon and sets the forest ablaze. Now that's important to say, cause even with all that, most of us don't want it to fade. Duh. We want it to braid, meaning we want it to grow, meaning we want it to stay. Like the governor called and he told him to wait. Unstrap him from the chair and put him back in his cage. The audience ain't phased, and they ain't gonna clap, and they ain't gonna praise. They want everything back that they paid, cause they've been waiting since 10 to see the lights get dim. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here, and the lights are on, and they wanna show. Yeah. So chauffeur, come and take me away, cause I've been standing in this line for like 5 whole days. Me and security ain't getting along, and when I got to the front, they told me all of the tickets were gone. So just take me home where the mood is mellow, and the roses are thrown, M&M's are yellow, and the light bulbs around my mirror don't flicker. Everybody gets a nice autograph picture, one for you and one for your sister, who had to work tonight but is an avid listener. Every song's a favorite song and mics don't feedback. All the reviewers say you need to go and see that, and everybody claps cause everybody is pleased, and then they all take the stage and start performing for me like ha 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 ha. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here and the lights are on, and they wanna show. Yeah. If you are what you say you are, you have no fear.
That was Lupe Fiasco with Superstar. I love that song.
Yeah, that was a
I
nice song.
totally miss Lupe. I hope he comes out with something new soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
He's very, very conscious. He's also a servant leader. He's a servant leader. He's a hip hop artist that's a service leader. He's always helping his community. The last thing that I read was that he was very involved in some activism. But we don't necessarily need titles. We all can be leaders. This has been a wonderful conversation. My name is Chandra Daniels. This is the C-Suite. We are joined by managing consultant David Rowe and DJ Tiny, who is our guest today, as we discuss the topic of servant leadership. And so, guys, we are coming down to the 20-minute of the hour. Where does the time go? I only get 4 hours a month on this radio station, and every 2 hours that I'm here, I get sad when we get down to the 20-minute mark, because it means it's almost over. So before we get out of here, just wanted to kind of recap our conversation, but kind of really touch upon what you all said before the break. Is that servant leadership is about service to others and commitment to others. And so wanted to add that over the years, the concept of helping others has grown to be an important part of every leadership theory. True leaders want to help others succeed. That's true leaders. If you're a leader, it's because you want to see others succeed.
Fact.
Right? Servant leaders focus on this at least as often, if not more so, than other leadership models because they are focused on building others up. True leadership isn't about being in charge all the time. David.
Yes.
True leadership is not about being in charge all of the time.
Absolutely. You know, the difficult thing about a lot of folk that have been in charge before is it's hard to relinquish command. In the military, we call it command authority.
Right.
When you've been in charge for so long and you don't have the skill set of the servant leader, it's almost like when somebody's talking that's not the leader and you're the one that's the leader, you feel like you need to be talking. You're actually trained by our society that the leader is the person that's talking and anybody else should be quiet when he's speaking or she's speaking. But people, being a servant leader is a whole different kind of leadership. All by itself is standalone, the best. I would call it the best leadership. But it does have a place where even though you're a servant leader, doesn't mean that you're dorsal.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you can be ran over.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do have to know how to balance having a stern, mean demeanor when you have to hold people to the fire, to direct people and to give them, because folks still want you to be confident and they still want to see that attribute of you having that authority. But they also need to know that, hey, when you don't know all that is to know about something, you're not intimidated by somebody else taking the reins to say, hey man, I've never did this before. You're the guy. Can you take it over? Doesn't mean that you gave up your power. It just means that you back down so that the person that can do the leading at that time could do it. So no, you don't have to be.
Your goal is not only to be a leader, but teach others to become leaders as well.
To empower others to be a leader.
Right? I mean, we can't stress it. You're also about building communities. Finally, servant leaders need to empower the community as a whole. That community can be small team inside a large organization, even our own towns and our own cities. We have an opportunity to really understand that what we do as leaders, and I think it's the word leader more than it's the word servant, that people are challenged by, because we put leader on top and think that everyone's supposed to worship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then because the connotations of what we see, or not even the representations of what leadership has been programmed and shown to us, that if you're in charge, people will flock to you. If you're in charge, people will take care of you. It's kind of like how you know, when you talked about Bloomberg and things of that sort.
Right.
Not understanding that you're a leader in your own right, just by what you've done. I didn't see anybody drop you off today. I didn't see your chauffeur. I didn't see, you didn't tell me about the maid you hired. You hired a maid, Tiny? No, you're this person who, you work not only for Bars and Hoops Radio, but it's a part of who you are. You're a partner here. You share in it. And it's not about just one person.
It's not.
Right? It's not about, when you look at people who need to be able to fill in for shows. And when I first started, didn't know how to turn any of this on. You worked with me for a very long time, right?
Right.
And empowered me, because you took care of the DJ side, because you're actually not at the DJ booth today. You're actually sitting amongst the audience today.
Yeah.
And you've always had an opportunity to be a part of what happens here. You voice your opinions. We've had disagreements. But at the end of the day, we've taken away something from each other and the rest of your team members on how to effectively be a part of one of the best radio stations on the internet, Bars and Hoops Radio. Did I do that right? Right.
Absolutely.
Number one on the internet out there.
We're a radio station that does podcasting.
Right. Podcastings, right?
That's right.
In addition to playing music 24/7. However, we're also a radio station that has hip hop and sports.
Hip hop and sports. Yeah.
Right.
Something that just hip hop and sports.
Something that just seems so obvious. just now exist, and it's going to continue to exist. So we're excited about that. And with that being said, is that this radio station is building a community. So this radio station is a leader. This organization is a leader in its own right, because it is in its community, helping in the community. You have the Round Ball Classic.
Yeah.
You have the folks that come in that work with the station to keep it clean.
Yeah.
You had the interns this summer. You guys did you guys do the fund, not only fundraiser, but you did the cash giveaway
Right.
at the beginning of the year.
New Year's Eve.
And you have varied voices here. It's not just sports,
No.
right? I'm a business on a sports and hip hop channel, right?
Yep.
You have a variety of different women on the channel.
Definitely.
You have different type of not only sports shows, but how the shows are recorded and interacted with the audience. So there's the diversity there, but you are servicing the community, which is big. And so while we have 15 minutes left of the show, where does the time go? That was 7 minutes of that. Wanted to talk about the pros and cons of servant leadership, because there's always pros and cons to a situation, and it'll be good to know how we can leverage them and work through them. And so, David, what would you say the benefit of, well, you kind of talked to the benefit of, but could you reiterate the benefits of what servant leadership is, and how it can be useful for any organization or team?
Well, what it does, I do know this. It's all about empowerment. It's all about bringing and elevating production, but not just in the workspace, but in the individual. The servant leader is going to amplify that individual, and they're going to be clued in on who they are more so than anything, because a lot of folk don't know that you recognize who they are. And when you can bring a person's awareness to how much they add value to who you are and to the team, you can change a child's life.
Absolutely.
You can change a human's life, because now they have the confidence. They are fully aware of what they have, a skill. And when you know who you are, you're the most dangerous player on the team, because you're having fun now.
Right.
And I tell you, when you're
Right.
not working anymore.
Right.
It's not about work. Now you're having fun because you know who you are on the team. You know your role in that specific space. And that's going to clue you in on other things and other spaces that you do. So it's a massive benefit to any organization to have leaders that know how to be a servant leader.
Right. To better understand themselves. Also communication, right? To effectively communicate the passions and missions of others. You cannot be a leader and not share not only the vision, but how this vision is going to be executed, right? How it's going to be leveraged, but also the passion. I think some people forget that the passion is contagious.
Definitely.
Right? People are attracted to people who are positive, people who are excited. Oh my God. And see you doing it. Oh, they hype about it. And what are they hype about? I want to be hype about that. I'm with this. So what happens is that it not only does what you said, David, but it also allows people to be effectively communicate. And lastly, I think is one that we don't talk about is humility. That they might not have found otherwise, to be vulnerable, right. To be able to step back and say, nah, this really isn't about me. And, oh, you know what? I did make a mistake. Oh, you know what, Tiny, you are right. I'm sorry. I apologize. And I sincerely apologize. How can we get to the next step? Right. How can we get this? How can we get to the next area? Also, I think it allows the team and the organization, but the person itself, to understand that they are part of an opportunity to grow. I think when anyone becomes stagnant, you know, you work, and Tiny, I know you and I can speak about this. We've worked a long time in our lives, right? Yeah. I'm excited about going to this new position, and you've been at your position for a very long time. But what makes it, what I can compare with both of us is that we're passionate about what we're doing because we're growing, right. Where we are. You might have different team members you have to onboard. You have different folks you have to work with. So no day is the same. Nah. Not even your menu is the same, I'm sure. No. Right. I'm sure that something changes. And so there's growth there. But I think the biggest thing is that it allows I don't know what's happening here, but it allows one to see their own growth. It's just clicking, but it's fine.
Oh, okay.
However, there are also challenges with anything, right?
Absolutely.
And so what would you say? We have about 12 minutes, so I want to divide this between us equally. What would you say would be some of the challenges, Tiny, to being a servant leader?
One of the challenges is people take your kindness for weakness.
Absolutely.
Right? They take your kindness for weakness, or they take what you're doing for weakness, and then sometimes they got to challenge you. And then the worst part about that is you got to put them in check sometimes, right? Sometimes you get somebody that think they know it all, get on board on your team, and you got to quickly let him know. Sometimes you got to let them burn themselves in order to realize, yo, see, you wasn't supposed to do that because you're hard-headed and you're not listening. So those are like some of the cons that I had to deal with as far as being leadership, because this is real things that happen.
Right. That's why I said that you were here.
Yeah.
I could not have asked a better person to come to speak to servant, because I know you are.
Right.
I hear it in something. I mean, we all have our areas of growth, right?
Right.
But having spoken to you in that conversation, it was perfect that you were sitting here and about to leave. And I was like, no, you can stay, so because I know you could relate to the topic.
Mm-hmm.
David, what would you say the challenges would be?
Being consistent. And to be able to be consistent, you can't do servant leadership. You absolutely have to be servant leadership. It's one thing to do something, because it's like being honest. You can do honest for a little while, but integrity is a whole nother thing, because the triunity of your mind, body, and soul, you can't hide who you really are. On Sunday morning, you're this person. Guess what? At 4 o'clock in the middle of the day, you're still that person. You're camouflaging everybody. You're playing that chameleon and moving and shaping. But you absolutely have to be consistent, and it's a challenge, because you in the process to becoming that servant leader is the challenge. But once you arrive and you are that servant leader, you're no longer doing it, because you have to start by doing it. You have to start by mimicking what you see other great leaders do and people that are doing servant leadership. But once you become that leadership, once you are being that leader, that means you think of yourself as a servant leader. So you're looking for opportunities to sharpen the saw. You're looking for something to be a servant leader for. And that's a challenge. I think that's one of the challenges that we'll all have when we're moving into the direction of being a servant leader.
I think you both have hit the nail on the head, that those are two great factors: not being taken advantage of, or take kindness for weakness, but also understanding that you have to be consistent and concise. You have to show up every time, even when you don't want to.
And one more negative, con, is to realize everybody's not going to be able to go with you.
That is a big one.
That's the big one.
That is the big one.
No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you try to, everybody's not meant to go on that same journey. So you just got,
and everybody's not going to agree, and they might not like your style of leadership. They might like the hierarchical, because that's what they relate to.
Right.
So that is, you're working with people on a spectrum. Everybody's not the same.
Yeah.
And so you could be the best servant leader you can be, understanding that if you're truly serving people, people are who they are, and you are people too. Right. So it's a big thing. I think one of the things I wanted to bring up, and it's great that you all kind of brought that up and it ties it in, is that while servant leadership has proven to be an exceptionally effective leadership style, the first challenge is the negative connotation that the name implies. First thing people hear servant, that they get to, no, I'm not doing that. Right. I'm not doing that.
It don't sound good.
Right. It doesn't sound good. Of course, it was purposely designed to showcase the fact that the best leaders serve their community. But some people go back to the sense that servants aren't the ones who should be in charge. So the challenge is, to become a certain servant leader, you must change your mind. David, we say this on every show. The renewal of your mind is a renewed mind, right? Which
Absolutely.
is an obstacle that many people face. We face it all the time. To change our mind is very, very difficult.
Facts.
It's just one of those things. People say, oh, man, he didn't change or she didn't change. Well, tell me how you change, and then maybe we can relate to how they change, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because I don't like when they say I'm stuck in my ways.
Right.
Right.
You're never stuck.
That's the first thing they're going to say. Oh, the reason I'm stuck in my ways because I don't want to do what you want me to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do what works for me. You're new coming on my team. Don't say I'm stuck in your way because you want me to do what you want me to do. It doesn't work that way. Show me that you can do what you can do first. And then maybe I'll be like, wow, that was a great idea. I'll rock with you then.
I think that you bring up a valid point. I think the last challenge is that ties into what you're saying and really kind of summarize this whole piece of the challenges is that it's just people understanding and grasping who they are.
Right.
Just
Absolutely.
be who you are.
Be
truly who you are, despite what may come. If you're a true servant leader, you will be that servant leader, right?
And if nobody can challenge you or say anything less.
Absolutely, not even close to it. Not even close to it. So we are winding down. We have about 5 minutes left on the C-suite. We did it, guys. Yeah. We got through a very interesting topic from the mayor of New York City, to Tim Duncan, to National Hip Hop Day, to American Football Day, to servant leadership. And what I heard through this whole thing was about empowerment, an empowerment of other people, the accountability of who you are, persuasion. I'm going to stick with that. The persuasion of using empathy and listening, but most importantly, of understanding that it's really a true great place to be when you are being a leader who serves not only your organization but your community. And so as we wind down, as we do every week on the C-Suite, wanted to kind of have a call to action. So I'm going to do a round table. I'm going to start with David, go to you, Tiny, and then hopefully wrap up with myself. And what is the best way to apply servant leadership? David. And a call to action to our listeners.
You have to have a made up mind, period. If you can make your mind up that you're going to be the best version of you that you can be, you'll find the servant leader in yourself, because all of us have it in us. We all want to see other people whenever, even in our worst times and worst moments. So I would challenge people to take action on discovering who you really are. Who am I now? And who will I be in the near future? And who will I be forever? Because it's up to you to make that decision.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. David, Tiny.
To lead by example. If you want people to follow you, you must lead. You must be an example of what you want them to do, because if they see you doing what you want them to do and it's working, 9 out of 10 they're going to rock with you.
Absolutely. Lead by example. Well, I think you both have summed it up, and I'll just say anyone can be a leader, right? To become a servant leader, just understand that everyone has leadership skills within them. They're all just differing at different stages, right? It takes time to practice and strengthen them. You must invest in developing these skills and committing to growth. I think that's the biggest thing, is being commitment to grow. And with growth, there are challenges. How do you overcome those challenges? Being a servant leader means putting the needs of others before your own, and continuously understanding that, as we saw with your example, Tiny, that your output will be so much greater with your input of just understanding who you are. And don't forget that everyone learns at a different pace. Keep learning, growing, and serving others. You can also check out Monarch Pros, www.monarchpros. We have a list of opportunities, of resources and tools to help you. Myself and David, I'm the principal consultant. David's the managing consultant. You can meet with us for coaching sessions, where we can come into your organization and have a conversation with you and your team. But we'll be more than happy to help you because we at Monarch Pros are servant leaders. Monarch Pros is an organization, a consulting firm that helps others be better selves, be better versions of themselves, as we too are becoming better versions of ourselves. And so as we wind down, I want to thank our guest, DJ Tiny, for
Thank
joining
you.
us today here
you
on
for
Bars and
having
Hoops
me.
Radio.
Thanks, Tiny.
I want
Thanks,
to thank
Dave.
you, David, for always showing up, being consistent, being available. I know it's already tomorrow where you are.
Yeah, 2 a.m.
And we didn't even finish today here on this end, but yeah, as we here on the C-Suite do, we have our final quote of the day, and I think you guys have found this appropriate. A leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they would say, "We did it ourselves."
Good point.
I
Right?
like that.
And so thank you to Bars and Hoops listeners on LinkedIn and YouTube. David, again, thank you, managing consultant of Monarch Pros. Our guest today, DJ Tiny from Bars and Hoops Radio. And for more information about Monarch Pros, you can visit us at www.monarchpros.com. I am your host, Chandra Daniels. This is the C-Suite Radio Podcast. Until the next time, you can have a little humor, right? Smile a little, be motivated, stay consistent, stick with your goals, and be inspired. Just be inspired. This was a great conversation, guys. I totally enjoyed this. I'm sorry it's coming down to the end, as it always does. But I want you guys to have a great weekend. It is now almost 7 o'clock. My name is Chandra Daniels. This is the C-Suite, and I thank you all for listening. I thank you guys. This was a very great conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you
Have a
again.
great day.
We'll see you again in November 20th. We'll be back on November 20th. Thank you.